In this session, we shall talk about different techniques of writing code. The first is something called as unstructured programming, followed by procedural language. And in the following video, we'll talk about something called as structured programming. Now let's understand what is unstructured programming. Unstructured programming was the way programs were written in the early days of computer science. Basically, if you write code using assembly and machine language, you will see a lot of unstructured statements like go to or jump. What these go to and jump means, from one place in the program, you directly go to the other part of the program. As a result, it becomes extremely difficult or almost impossible to understand how the program is working. Generally, the program is written as one big program without breaking it down into a number of functions or procedures or parts. Another thing, since you write it as one big program, the data is available to everybody and every instruction. Every instruction in that particular program can modify the data. As a result, data can be accidentally modified by instructions which are not supposed to modify it. Now, since the code is all in one place, as the code becomes extremely large, it's extremely difficult to understand it, maintain it, keep track of the changes and use it again. Another problem is, since you're writing everything and are not breaking it down into functions, suppose you have to calculate the square root, you will probably be writing the square root code or at 50 places, leading to duplication of code. The drawbacks of this are extremely difficult to find out errors, correct them, maintain the code, and make changes for future use. Examples of unstructured approach to programming can be early versions of COBOL, Fortran, BASIC, and even today a lot of assembly languages primarily unstructured programming, although there is a little bit of structure into it, but a lot of it is unstructured. Now let's take a look at what do you mean by procedural programming. In procedural programming, the ideas are based on something called as structured programming. Structured programming means we use constructs like sequential statements, selection statements like if else if, or we use loops and repetition logic. So in procedural programming, code that repeats or instructions that are required again and again are not written in everything in one big program. They are broken down into a number of procedures, blocks, parts, or functions. So you call or use that part and block only when you need it. Now, the program can simply be thought as a collection of a number of small parts, each part doing something and contributing to the solution of the problem. It can be viewed as a sequence of procedure calls. So what happens, what it really means by this, suppose this is my starting point here at the top. I enter here, then I may go here, with this is the second procedure or second function, do something here. Then I may go here, then I may come back here. Then when I come back here, I may decide that I am going to now go here. Again I go here, but I don't go back. I go here, then I go up here. And from up here, I decide again to come down here, go up here and go here. So what is happening is, from wherever it is called, the control goes back to the same point where it was called. Procedures or functions call other functions by passing data. This is one part. If this arrow needs this part, this down arrow needs data, data is sent from here to this program, so this particular fellow solves it. If this guy needs data, from here it is again sent here to solve it. Finally, the results may be sent by this fellow back to main. So in this way, the advantage of what happens with this particular process is it can go like this and then come and finish. The advantage is the data is only used by those functions or procedures which require it. It is passed based on need basis. Error handling is easy, because if I find some error in doing something, I can say, oh, it's only in this part, it's only in this part, or only in this part. Suppose you write all of this as one big part, then you have to look at the big part to find the error. Another advantage is, let us say this green line here represents a function to find the square root of a number. Now if I need to use this process to find the square root of a number in 10 other places or 10 other different applications, I can easily use this code, reuse it. Whereas if I write it as one big thing, I can't take the entire thing because the other parts are useless to me. That is why error handling is easier. Code reuse is possible. Examples of such approaches in languages like C, Pascal, Basic, you will all find procedural languages, or sorry, procedural way of doing things being used today. Now, let us in the next video session talk about something called as structured programming as well as modular programming, and that will be the last topic for this particular chapter called as programming methodology.